Hogwarts Legacy fans feel very strongly about romance, relationships, and whether or not it belongs in the game. So here in today's video, we're going to talk about the problem some people have with romance potentially being in the game. I'll also give you my personal thoughts on how I think they can make it work. By the way, people of the internet, RetroRaconteur here, and I'm just a dad who loves games and the stories they tell, and so by being both a husband and a dad to young children, I have a unique perspective on relationships and how I think they could work in the game and if they should work in the game. Now, some of you may be asking, what exactly is the issue here? Why are some people having a problem with this? Well, what you have to understand here is although many of us grew up as Harry Potter fans and are older, more mature now, the characters we interact with at Hogwarts will range in age from 11 to 17. And of course, I realize some of you fall within that age range as well. When it comes to Hogwarts, though, first years are 11 when they cross the Black Lake to step into Hogwarts for the first time, and 7th years finishing out their schooling are 17, of course. And that's where I think some are uncomfortable with the idea of romance options, considering it's a school of underage wizards. In Hogwarts Legacy, we're expected to play as a 5th year, and if you look back at the Harry Potter books as a reference point, that's really the book where student romance and relationships started taking on a more prominent role. Actually, I guess you could say it even goes back to Goblet of Fire with Ron's jealousy of Hermione and Victor Crumb, but Order of the Phoenix took it up another notch with all the relationship drama between Harry and Cho. Of course, in Book 6, there was even more with Ron and Lavender's relationship, Harry and Ginny, and so on. I think where people stand on this really depends on a couple of things, including things like age, your own maturity level, and ultimately what people mean when they say quote-unquote romance options. Now, I could be totally wrong here, but I would guess that when most people think of romance and relationships in video games, they're probably thinking of the hyper-sexualized examples like Mass Effect or The Witcher. And for me, when it comes to Hogwarts Legacy, that particular example is just not been on my radar at all. That's not what I'm thinking when I say romance or relationships in Hogwarts Legacy. So those of us who want romance in Hogwarts Legacy are definitely not talking about something like this, and I don't think it would even come close to something like what you see in The Witcher. Believe it or not, guys, I know Hollywood and TV try to convince us otherwise, but stick with me here. Romantic relationships are about way more than just purely physical desires. I know, hard to believe, right? Now, I made a video previously about all the features I'd like to see in Hogwarts Legacy, and I did list romance as one of those features. For me, it all comes down to doing this in a tasteful way that's fitting for the kids in this age group that would be attending Hogwarts at the time. It also needs to be something true to the world that it's set in. If we were playing as first years, absolutely not. It probably wouldn't have much of a place in the game. But how could this play out in Hogwarts Legacy? How could relationships enhance our experience and even enhance the gameplay in some ways? What are some tasteful examples of relationship options that would be appropriate for 5th-year students at Hogwarts? So let's take a look here at 5 ways Avalanche could feature romance in a way that would be age-appropriate and fitting for an open-world action RPG. Number 1, social links. If you look to games like the Persona series, you'll notice they also feature kids and teenagers that go through relationship struggles. One relationship component of the Persona series is the social link system. For those who aren't familiar, this is a system where the player decides which friends they'll spend time with each day, but like the real world, you only have so much time in a day. So this means you can't spend time with every single friend. And these aren't just limited to romantic relationships. In fact, when it comes to Hogwarts Legacy, we already know we'll be able to choose companions to aid us in our journey throughout the game. So it would make a lot of sense if we had some sort of social system to track and build relationships with those companions along the way. Number 2, special storylines. When you reach a certain point in your relationship with characters throughout the game, perhaps you could unlock special storylines and missions that are only available when you've achieved a close relationship, whether romantic or platonic. These could be segments focused heavily on teamwork and camaraderie, or maybe even some lighthearted options like a date to Hogsmeade Village. Hopefully, Avalanche is able to give players a wide range of options for our companions with multiple, fully realized characters so we can choose best friends and significant others that jive best with our own personality, or even just the personality we want to portray in the game. Developing these relationships over the course of an entire game should only strengthen moments of heightened tension in the story. I mean, just look back at the Harry Potter series. There are so many numerous events that were made all the more impactful because of how much we cared about the characters and their relationships. Characters like Luna, Neville, Sirius, Lupin, of course, the trio. I mean, so many characters in Harry Potter that we felt close to, and felt close to each other through the relationships they built throughout the book. Number 3, gameplay enhancements. It's important to remember that as much as we want a good story, this is a video game after all, and gameplay is ultimately what will make or break the experience. Going back to Persona for a bit, the social link system doesn't just affect the story. There are clear impacts on gameplay as well. From bonus XP to special skills, certain bonds and relationships will yield different abilities that can be used in combat. So let's get wild here for a minute and really think big about this. Suppose you're faced with a stealth mission in Hogwarts Legacy, and you have one friend who's really good at potions who could help you brew polyjuice maybe. But then you have this other friend who kind of lives on the edge and says that they could help you steal a teacher's invisibility cloak. Both options would aid you in your stealth mission, but would play out completely differently depending on which skill you would develop throughout the game through your relationship with those characters. And then you have the whole spell casting component, how certain characters could be better at charms, whereas others are better at transfiguration. There's really a ton Avalanche could do here, and I hope they go all in on a system like this. Number 4, social events. Extracurricular activities such as club meetings, sporting events, or school dances are key moments for social interaction. We see a number of these throughout the Harry Potter series, ranging from the Yule Ball to Quidditch matches and something off the wall like Nearly Headless Nick's Death Day party. Attending these events with either a significant other or even multiple members of a close-knit social group would be another way Avalanche could place relationships at the forefront of the game. Who knows if there will be anything akin to a Yule Ball, but that one immediately jumps to mind as an opportunity to highlight relationships formed throughout the school year and could also set up a big story moment. Number 5, custom dialogue. We already know we'll be able to make choices throughout the game, and I think that should apply to our relationships as well. By building stronger bonds with our fellow students at Hogwarts, we should unlock special dialogue options that are only available to close friends or significant others. This is a small element, but one I really think would help make the world feel more real and more alive. I mean, let's be honest, there are certain people in our own lives who we would tell certain things, and then other friends where we wouldn't tell them the same thing, even if we consider them both to be friends. We even see this in the books when Hermione and Ginny begin to open up to one another about their romantic relationships, and we learn about conversations after the fact that Harry and Ron aren't privy to in the moment. This is simply because Hermione doesn't want to open up with them on some of those details. Now, I'm curious if any of you guys out there have tried out Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery. I remember downloading it when it first came out, played it for a little bit, wasn't really my cup of tea, so I moved on. But it's still a game that they are pushing out new content for, and back around February, they did a special Valentine's Day event. Again, I didn't play it very long, so I don't know how it works, but you can see the trailer playing right now where they actually had a specific emphasis on romance. So I'm curious to how they handled it in that game. If any of you know, be sure and let me know down in the comments below. Maybe I need to give it another shot, try it out, see how things have changed. Of course, there's also that Harry Potter Magic Awakened game, which I haven't had a chance to try out yet. I'm in the US. If any of you have played that one, I don't know if it has a romance segment or not, but that might be worth looking into as well. I know several of you have been asking about that one in the comments. I really hope it comes to the US soon so we can all get a chance to try it out. I haven't played it, so I can't say exactly how it all works, but clearly between games like this and Persona, there is a precedent here for romance and relationships being in games that feature underage teenagers. Of course, I want to hear what you guys think as well. Did I sway any of you who were maybe on the fence about whether or not this can work? Or maybe I pushed you the other way and you don't want this in the game at all now? Either way, thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.